There are a lot of systems to keep track of in Borderlands 4. That's to be expected, however, given the billions, yes that's billions with a B, of guns you have the chance to find as you search for the vault on Kairos. If you're feeling like you may have missed the explanation for something at some point in the early hours of your playthrough, don't worry, you're not alone. Here are 12 things that Borderlands 4 doesn't tell you. There's nothing worse than spending your hard-earned skill points on a skill only to find that it's not as powerful as you'd hoped. Fortunately, you can reset your Vault Hunter's entire skill tree without restarting your playthrough. Simply visit a respec machine, which you'll find at every major faction town, including the Launchpad and Carcadia. Take note that using the respec machine does come with a rather hefty price tag though, which scales based on the amount of money you currently have. In the grand scheme of things, the cost is rather negligible, especially since money is so easy to come by. With that said, just be sure to choose carefully, as the process can get rather costly and time-consuming, especially as you progress through the game. Luckily, you can still change things up without completely respecking your character by changing your action skill in the skill tree menu. To do this, you'll need to switch to one of the 3 trees available to your character and select an action skill to equip at the top of the tree. If you're chasing a more laid-back way to earn weapons and gear, you may want to give fishing a try, as fishing spots can occasionally be found along the edges of rivers and lakes. Keep an eye out for bits of water that have bubbles splashing at the surface and the occasional fish jumping out of the water. While fishing at these locations, there's a small chance to catch items such as weapons and other gear. To begin, interact with the fishing spot using your grappling hook. Once you've hooked a fish, an item will be flung into the air, and you'll want to quickly use your grappling hook once more to pull the item safely back to shore. You have to act quickly though, otherwise you'll miss the opportunity and the loot will be lost for good. Before starting, just be sure to temper your expectations, as not every fishing spot will provide a noteworthy reward, as literal trash is, in fact, one of the most common things you'll catch. Try to always keep a variety of weapons for different situations in your 4 weapon slots. Certain weapons might be strong enough to cover multiple uses at once, but as a general rule of thumb for the early game, you should strive to have a good mid to long range weapon that doesn't rely on splash damage, so you can more easily deal with flying enemies. A good shotgun or SMG to deal with enemies that rush you to get up close, some form of elemental damage, ideally a Malawan weapon that can swap between incendiary, corrosive, Kairos, and or shock damage, and a Torg weapon for splash damage and dealing with lots of enemies at once. Following this approach is especially important for those playing on hard difficulty, since elemental damage plays a much larger role. You'll also want to keep this in mind when looting or selling weapons, as a weaker weapon that exploits an elemental weakness is sometimes better than a stronger weapon with no elemental damage. To quickly cycle through your weapons on controller, you can hold down the triangle/Y button to open a weapon wheel. Additionally, you can rapidly press the button to cycle through weapons. For example, if you're on the bottom weapon and need to get to the weapon to the right, quickly tapping the weapon switch 3 times will allow you to pull out that gun in a flash. Just be aware though that some enemies are known to have their elemental affinities change. We uncovered this while replaying missions, as some bosses had different elemental affinities from our initial playthrough. You can score a guaranteed legendary weapon by dropping big ol' $1,000 tips into the tip jar at Moxxi's Bottoms Up Bar, a location you'll visit in Carcadia Burn during the main story. Now, there is no set amount that you need to tip, as the chance of receiving a legendary weapon is entirely random. In our testing, we received our first legendary after tipping just over $20,000, a second after tipping an additional $43,000, and then 2 more within just $5,000. Once Moxxi is pleased with the amount you've tipped, hearts will float over the tip jar, and Moxxi, who wanders around the bar, will stop to hold out a legendary weapon. Take note, though, that the tip jar will sometimes be closed after certain main missions, especially when Moxxi isn't actively in the main area of the bar. In our experience, we found that we simply needed to wait for some time to pass, or complete some additional activities or quests before it would reopen. Enemies and quests in Borderlands 4 scale with you, so there's not much incentive to grind for experience or gear early on. Our recommendation is to push through the main quest to unlock all of the essential upgrades as quickly as you can, then return to do the majority of side quests and activities later. And don't worry about missing out, as you'll get all of the gear and level ups that you need just by playing through the main quest and beating critical path bosses. If you do want to branch out and complete some side content, don't forget that they can be replayed via the Missions tab in the main menu at any time. Replaying the missions, both main story and side quests, will see you facing enemies that reflect your current level, as well as earning similarly leveled weapons and gear as rewards. just because you've committed yourself to one action skill along with its augments and capstones doesn't mean that you're beholden to a single skill tree of your particular Vault Hunter. In fact, some of the best builds will have you unlocking passive skills from other skill trees as they offer advantages that are sometimes just too good to pass up. For example, even though we're running Rafa's Peacebreaker cannons, we're also taking full advantage of the Midnight Oil passive from his Arc Knives skill tree, as it pairs well with our extended Peacebreaker cannons build. After completing the Siege and Destroy main mission in Carcadia City, you'll unlock the side mission Vend of the Line. We know, we just said to avoid side missions, but hear us out. If you've completed a few side missions along the way, you'll know by now that most provide rather lackluster rewards. But there is one exception, as Vend of the Line is arguably one of the best side missions to complete before wrapping up the story, as, without too many major spoilers, you'll be sent on a scavenger hunt to track down the fabled Legendary Vending Machine. After completing a series of puzzles, you'll eventually unlock the vending machine, which just so happens to sell you a single legendary weapon of your choice for just $1. While Borderlands 4 informs you about the option to toggle the radar display on the HUD, it conveniently fails to mention just how awful the compass display truly is. For example, it displays enemies along the bottom of the game's compass, which supposedly offers a less intrusive experience. In reality, though, it hides crucial information and makes combat situations awkward and, at times, confusing to pinpoint precisely where enemies are located, or if they're even in your immediate vicinity. Having played nearly the entire campaign with the compass display, I truly wish someone had told me just how much better the radar display is in comparison. You can switch to the radar display in the settings menu, which I would strongly recommend doing. As you explore Kairos, it's not uncommon to stumble upon red chests that are either locked up with chains or blocked by a blue barrier. These chests, which contain valuable weapons and gear, are usually tied to random events that spawn in set locations all around the world. In our experience, these events will move and respawn in new locations upon death. To unlock these chests, you must complete the random event that's in your immediate area, which can range from clearing all nearby enemies, shooting color-coded lights with their respective elemental affinity to lower barriers, or similar tasks that often have a trick to them. These events won't appear on your map, nor will they showcase an objective needed to unlock the red chest, so it'll be up to you to keep your eyes peeled so you don't miss these valuable looting opportunities. To free up space in your inventory, you can safely store unused weapons and other pieces of equipment that you don't wish to sell inside the Bank Vault, which is found at the piggy bank icon that's in every faction town, including the Launchpad, Carcadia, Belton's Bore, and the Lockaway. Upon locating the Bank Vault, interact with the machine and you'll be able to deposit up to 25 weapons and/or equipment. Much like your inventory though, space within the vault will be somewhat limited, so if you find that you're storing, or maybe hoarding, too many items, you'll want to invest some of your hard-earned STU tokens in the bank in the STU menu to increase your vault space. It's important to note that storing items within the bank will also allow them to be transferred between characters, so if you love one of your weapons but don't want to lose it when trying out a new Vault Hunter, you can transfer it that way. As you level up, you'll unlock class mods, which are unique pieces of gear that provide additional offensive and defensive bonuses for your Vault Hunter, such as increased action skill duration, fire rate, and weapon damage. Not all class mods are built the same though, as some offer skill bonuses that enhance certain skills in your skill tree. You can view exactly which bonus skills a class mod offers by inspecting it via your inventory and hovering over the skill icons. Here, you'll find the skill name as well as the number of skill points being invested. Skill bonuses can also be viewed from the skills menu, where you'll find all skills enhanced by the class mod marked with a blue icon. In some cases, if you already have invested the maximum points into that particular skill, any additional points from the class mod will be awarded as an overflow, and further stat enhancements will be stacked on top of their standard effects. These are marked by orange text in the tooltip. For this reason, our recommendation is to prioritize class mods that offer skill bonuses, especially ones that match your build, as they can provide a significant advantage to your overall Vault Hunter's build. Did you know that your Vault Hunter actually has access to a dash ability? To perform a dash, press the circle button /B on the controller or L shift on the keyboard along with the direction you wish to travel, to perform a quick dash on the ground, or even combine it with a jump to do a mid-air dash, which is especially helpful for dodging large charging enemies. In addition to maximizing your movement, you can also reach higher areas by taking advantage of the Digi-Runner. To do so, perform a jump using the vehicle, and while in the air, dismount and then perform a double jump. This essentially gives you a triple jump in any area where you can ride the Digirunner. So those are 12 things that Borderlands 4 doesn't tell you. For more on Borderlands 4, check out our other guides, and for everything else, make sure to stick with IGN.